Admiral Taemin stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, watching the stars through the massive window. His ship was the largest in humanity's fleet, but today it felt very small. The communication screen in front of him showed 12 alien faces, each one representing a different species from across the galaxy. The leader spoke first. Its voice was cold and mechanical through the translator. "I am Prime Regent Vexathara of the Galactic Council. We have been watching your species for some time now." Taemin kept his face calm, but his heart was beating fast. The Galactic Council was legendary. They had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. No one had ever seen them visit a new species like this before. "Admiral Taemin of the Terran Defense Fleet," he replied. "We are honored by your visit." The alien's eyes glowed, brighter. "Honor is not why we are here, human. Your species has become a problem." Around the bridge, Taemin's crew members looked at each other with worry. They had been expecting this day for years, but hoping it would never come. 200 years ago, your kind could barely fly between planets, another council member said. This one looked like a giant insect with crystal wings. "Now you have colonies in 47 star systems. You build ships faster than we can count them. This is not normal." "We work hard," Taemin said carefully. "We learn quickly." "Too quickly," Vexathara snapped. "Other species take thousands of years to reach the stars. You did it in centuries. Your technology grows every day. This threatens the balance of power in our galaxy." The communication screen split to show a map of human space. Red dots marked every human colony, every space station, every mining operation. The Council had been watching everything. "We have come to offer you a choice," Vexathara continued. "You will stop this dangerous growth. You will give up your advanced technology, your ships, your weapons, your computers. All of it must be destroyed. You will return to the simple life of farming and fishing on your home planet." Taemin felt cold inside. "And if we refuse, then we will help you return to that simple life. Permanently." The screen changed again. Now it showed a massive fleet of alien ships, more than Taemin had ever seen in one place. They were elegant and powerful, with weapons that could destroy planets. The message was clear. "You have one of your years to comply," Vexathara said. "We will be watching. Any attempt to hide your technology or continue your expansion will result in immediate correction." The communication ended. The bridge was silent for a long moment. "Sir," said Lieutenant So Young from the communication station, "are we really going to give up everything we've built?" Taemin looked at her. So Young was young but smart. She had helped design many of their new ship systems. The thought of destroying all that work must hurt her deeply. "Send a message to Earth," Taemin said quietly. "Tell them we need an emergency meeting with the Defense Council." 3 days later, Taemin sat in a room deep under the mountains of Korea. Around the table were the most important people in human space. Da-eun, the Secretary of Defense, looked tired. She was only 35, but the weight of protecting all humanity made her seem older. "The situation is worse than we thought," she said, reading from a tablet. "Our scouts report that the Council fleet has over 200,000 ships. Each one is bigger and more powerful than our best battleships." Wu Jin, the head of the research division, shook his head. "I've been studying the recordings of their technology. Their shields can stop our strongest weapons. Their ships can phase through solid matter. We're not even close to their level." "What about our allies?" asked General Kyung-soo. "The Valdris helped us before." "The Valdris are hiding," Da-eun replied. "So are the Nethrani and the others. They remember what happened to species that fought the Council. Complete destruction." The room fell quiet. Everyone knew the stories. Entire civilizations wiped out for defying the Council's will. "There might be another way," said a quiet voice from the corner. Everyone turned to look at Min Ho. He was not a soldier or a politician. He was an engineer who built things in space. But he had been working on secret projects for years. Go on, Da-un said. Minho stood up and walked to the wall screen. What if we don't fight them directly? What if we make them think they've won? Explain, Taemin said. We give them what they want to see. We destroy our surface facilities. We power down our ships. We act like defeated primitives. Minho's eyes were bright with an idea. But we keep the real technology hidden. Wu Jin leaned forward. Hidden where? They'll be watching everything. Underground. In space. In places they don't think to look. Minho touched the screen, and it showed a map of human space with thousands of tiny dots. For 20 years, we've been building backup facilities, mining stations in asteroid belts, research labs inside dead planets, storage depots in empty space. The room was silent as everyone studied the map. You're talking about abandoning our entire visible civilization, Da-un said slowly. To save our real civilization, Minho replied. Let them think we're broken while we prepare for the real fight. Captain So Young had been promoted and given her own ship after the council's visit. Now she commanded the scout vessel Incheon. Runner. Her mission was to watch and report on council activities. She was in the outer system of New Jeju when it happened. Captain, her sensor officer called out. I'm detecting massive energy readings near the colony. So Young looked at the screen. New Jeju was a peaceful farming world with 50 million people. Families had been living there for 3 generations. Council ships, she whispered as the alien vessels appeared on screen. There were 12 of them, arranged in a perfect formation above the planet. So Young watched in horror as they began to charge their weapons. Send a warning to the colony, she ordered. Tell them to evacuate now. But it was too late. Beams of pure energy lanced down from the council ships. Where they touched the planet's surface, everything simply vanished. Cities, farms, mountains, all turned to dust in seconds. In 10 minutes, it was over. New Jeju was a dead rock floating in space. Message coming in from the council fleet, her communications officer said with a shaking voice. So Young accepted the transmission. Vexithara's face appeared on screen. This is what happens to species that take too long to comply, the alien said. Your people had made no progress in reducing their technology. This was a reminder of the consequences. The transmission ended. So Young stared at the dead planet where her cousin had lived with his family. Set course for Earth, she said quietly. Best speed. Back on Earth, the news of New Jeju's destruction spread quickly. In the underground facility, the human leaders watched the reports with grim faces. 50 million people, Da-un said. Gone in minutes. They're not going to wait. A full year, Taemin realized. They'll keep destroying colonies until we surrender completely. Wu Jin was working at a computer terminal. I'm getting reports from our hidden facilities. Project Deep Root is ahead of schedule. We can begin the evacuation protocols immediately. Do. Da-un ordered. Send the surrender message to the council. Make it sound completely defeated. Within hours, every human broadcast station was sending the same message across the galaxy. Humanity surrendered unconditionally. They would dismantle their technology. They would return to primitive life. They begged for mercy. Taemin recorded the final message himself, making sure he looked broken and afraid. We are sorry for our rapid growth. We understand now that we moved too fast. Please give us time to undo our mistakes. We will be good citizens of your galaxy. When the recording was finished, he turned to So Young, who had returned from her scouting mission. Did you believe that performance? He asked with a small smile. So Young smiled back, but her eyes were hard with anger over New Jeju. The council will believe it. They think we're just another primitive species that got lucky for a while. Good, Taemin said, because Phase 1 just began. Time to show them what humans really are when they push us too far. In space around, Earth human ships began powering down their weapons and shields. To any watching Council sensors, it looked like complete surrender. But deep in hidden bunkers and secret facilities, the real work was just beginning. The Council had crossed a line when they destroyed New Jeju. Now they would learn what happened when you threatened humanity's children. They would learn that sometimes the best way to win a war was to let your enemy think they had already won. 6 months had passed since humanity's surrender to the Galactic Council. To anyone watching from space, Earth looked defeated. The massive shipyards that once built hundreds of vessels were dark and empty. The orbital platforms that housed millions of people drifted powerless in the void. Even the great space elevators had been shut down, their cables hanging like dead snakes toward the planet below. But Min-ho knew better. He stood in the control room of Deep Station Alpha, hidden inside, a hollowed-out asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. Through the reinforced windows, he could see dozens of ships under construction. These were not the sleek vessels that humanity had built before. These were war machines, designed with one purpose in mind. How many more facilities came online? "This week?" he asked his assistant, Hye-jin. 17. She replied, checking her tablet. "The mining operation in the Tau Ceti system just finished converting their equipment. They can start building ships next month." Min-ho nodded. The plan was working better than they had hoped. For 20 years, human miners and engineers had been digging into asteroids, moons, and dead planets throughout their territory. What looked like simple mining operations were actually massive underground cities and factories. When the Council demanded humanity's surrender, these hidden facilities had become humanity's real home. Millions of people had quietly vanished. From the surface, colonies, traveling to secret bases through hidden transport routes. To the Council's sensors, it looked like the human population was simply becoming smaller and more primitive. In reality, humanity was going underground to prepare for war. "Report from Captain So Young," Hye-jin continued. "The Council reduced their patrol fleet around Earth again. They only have 50 ships watching us now." "Down from 500, Min-ho said with satisfaction. "They really think we're broken." On Earth's surface, the deception continued. The remaining humans lived in simple farms and villages, using only basic technology. They grew crops by hand, traveled on horses, and communicated with radio equipment that was deliberately kept primitive. When Council ships scanned them, all they found were peaceful farmers who seemed to have forgotten how to build spaceships. But underground, a different story was unfolding. Wu Jin worked in a laboratory carved deep into the Himalayan mountains. Around him, dozens of scientists studied pieces of Council technology that human spies had stolen over the years. Every circuit, every energy cell, every weapon component was carefully examined and understood. "Look at this," said Dr. Ji-won, holding up a device that glowed with soft blue light. "This is their shield generator. It's incredibly powerful, but the design is ancient. They haven't improved it in thousands of years." Wu Jin examined the device through a microscope. "You're right. The technology is advanced, but it's not innovative. They've been using the same basic design forever." "That's their weakness," Ji-won said excitedly. "They're so used to being the most advanced species that they stopped trying to improve. They just build more of the same old things." This discovery had led to humanity's greatest breakthrough. While the Council had better technology, they had become lazy with it. They used the same shield frequencies, the same weapon types, the same computer codes that they had used for millennia. Humans, on the other hand, never stopped trying to build something better. In the hidden factories, human engineers were combining Council technology with their own innovations. The result was hybrid weapons and ships that were not just equal to Council technology. They were better. Admiral Taemin visited one of these factories, hidden inside a moon orbiting a gas giant in the outer system. The facility looked like a natural crater from the outside, but inside it was a massive shipyard building vessels that had never been seen before. "This is the Gwangju's revenge," said the shipyard director, Kyung-soo. She's our first new class dreadnought. Taemin looked up at the massive ship. It was twice the size of the old Soul's Pride and bristled with weapons that combined human engineering with captured council technology. How many can we build? Taemin asked. We have 12 facilities like this one, Kyung-soo replied. Each can produce one dreadnought every 3 months, plus hundreds of smaller ships. The council thinks we've forgotten how to build ships at all, Taemin said with a cold smile. They're going to be very surprised. The deception was not limited to hiding ships and weapons. Humanity was also hiding people. Millions of their best scientists, engineers, and soldiers had officially died in accidents or diseases that were reported to the council. In reality, they had been moved to the hidden facilities and given new identities. Captain So-young was officially dead, killed in a mining accident on Europa. In reality, she commanded a growing fleet of stealth ships that spied on council movements throughout the galaxy. Her ships looked like asteroids or space debris to council sensors, but they were actually advanced reconnaissance vessels. The council is getting more confident, she reported during a secret meeting with the other commanders. They're pulling ships away from human space to deal with other problems. They think we're no longer a threat. What kind of other problems? Asked Da-un. Rebellions, So-young said. Apparently, other species have been inspired by our example. The Valdris just destroyed a council outpost. The Nethrani are refusing to pay their tribute. The council is having to send ships to keep order. This was another part of humanity's plan. Before their surrender, they had secretly contacted other, oppressed species and shared the story of New Jeju's destruction. The message was clear. The council would destroy anyone who showed independence. Better to fight together than die alone. But humanity's greatest weapon was not their ships or their allies. It was their ability to appear harmless while preparing for war. In the underground cities, children attended schools where they learned mathematics, science, and engineering alongside farming and basic crafts. If council inspectors ever visited the surface schools, they would see primitive humans learning to plant crops. They would never know that the same children spent their evenings learning to build spacecraft and program quantum computers. Dr. Hyojin had become humanity's leading expert on alien biology. In her secret laboratory, she studied captured council specimens and learned how their bodies worked. This knowledge would be crucial when the fighting began. Most council species are physically weak, she explained to a gathering of military commanders. They rely completely on their technology for protection. Without their shields and armor, they're actually quite fragile. What about their leadership species? Asked General Dong-hyun. The Kalani are the most interesting, Hyejin said, bringing up an image on her screen. They're the ones who founded the council 10,000 years ago. They have enhanced brains that can process information very quickly, but this makes them vulnerable to certain types of electromagnetic interference. You mean we could disrupt their thinking? Taemin asked. Potentially. I'm working on it. While the scientists worked on weapons, the engineers focused on logistics. Moving millions of people and vast amounts of equipment without being detected required incredible planning. The key was using humanity's existing infrastructure in new ways. The mining ships that traveled between asteroids also carried passengers and supplies to hidden bases. The cargo containers that officially held simple trade goods actually contained advanced weapons and computer systems. Even the radio signals between human colonies carried secret data encoded in seemingly innocent messages about crop prices and weather reports. The council never suspected because they had become arrogant. 10,000 years of ruling the galaxy had made them believe that no primitive species could deceive them. They saw what they expected to see, defeated humans slowly reverting to a simpler way of life. In their hidden command center, the human leadership watched council activities through a network of spy satellites and hidden sensors. The aliens had no idea they were being observed. Intelligence reports show the council is planning something big, reported Minister Ji-won. They're massing ships near their home systems. A celebration of their victory over us? Suggested Wu Jin. Maybe, Daeyun said. Or maybe they're preparing for the next phase of their plan. That question was answered when Captain So Young intercepted a council transmission during one of her spy missions. They're planning to harvest Earth's resources, she reported. In 3 months, they want to strip mine the planet and move the remaining human population to reservation worlds. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Council was not content with humanity's surrender. They wanted to erase human civilization completely. How many ships are they sending? Asked Tai Min. Only about 10,000. So Young replied. They think it will be easy since we're supposedly defenseless. Minho started laughing. It was not a happy sound. 10,000 ships, he said, against what they think is a broken civilization. They have no idea what's waiting for them, added Kyung-soo. Da-yun stood up and looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. Then it's time to stop hiding. Send the activation codes to all facilities. Begin Phase 2, throughout. Human space. Hidden bases received the signal they had been waiting for. The Council fleet arrived at Earth on a Tuesday morning. Admiral Kyung-soo watched them from the bridge of the hidden dreadnought Gwangju's Revenge, positioned behind Jupiter's largest moon. His ship's sensors counted the enemy vessels as they dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Earth's orbit. 10,412 ships, reported his tactical officer. Just like our intelligence predicted. Kyung-soo smiled grimly. After months of careful planning, everything was going exactly as humanity had hoped. The Council fleet was impressive by their standards, sleek vessels that could destroy planets, each one crewed by aliens who believed they were about to claim an easy victory over a defeated species. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Signal from Earth, his communications officer announced. Captain So Young reports that Council landing ships are approaching the major continents. Excellent, Kyung-soo said. Tell her she's cleared to begin the demonstration. On Earth's surface, So Young crouched in a hidden bunker beneath what used to be Seoul. Above her, she could hear the rumble of Council ships landing in the city center. Through her periscope, she watched as alien soldiers marched down the ramps of their transports. The aliens looked confident and relaxed. They had performed this same operation hundreds of times on other worlds. First, they would secure the major population centers. Then they would begin loading the surviving humans onto transport ships for relocation to prison planets. Finally, they would begin stripping the planet of all useful resources. It was a routine operation that usually took a few weeks to complete. All units, this is command. So Young spoke into her radio. Execute Phoenix Protocol on my mark, across Earth's surface. In every major city that the Council was landing in, hidden bunkers prepared to reveal themselves. For months, these facilities had been disguised as rubble and ruins from humanity's supposed technological collapse. In reality, they were weapons platforms that had been waiting for this moment. Mark, So Young said. The ground around Seoul erupted. What the Council had thought were destroyed buildings suddenly opened up to reveal massive particle cannons. The fake ruins fell away to show plasma launchers and gravitational mines. Even the seemingly abandoned roads opened up to release swarms of combat drones. Similar scenes played out in London, New York, Tokyo, Moscow, and every other major city where Council forces had landed. In seconds, thousands of alien soldiers found themselves surrounded by weapons they didn't know existed. What is this? Demanded Council War Leader Thex Mari from his command ship. Our intelligence said the humans had no technology left. His aide was frantically checking sensor readings. Sir, these weapons are reading as more advanced than our own. How is this possible? The answer came when Dr. Hai Jin activated her masterpiece from a laboratory hidden deep beneath the Himalayan mountains. For months, she had been preparing a special gift for the Council, a computer virus designed specifically to attack their ancient technology. The virus spread through the Council's own communication networks. Every time a council ship tried to contact another ship, the virus jumped between them. It was designed to look like normal communication data, so the council's security systems never detected it. But once inside a council computer system, the virus began its real work. It corrupted navigation databases, scrambled weapon targeting systems, and fed false information to ship sensors. Within minutes, half the council fleet was flying blind. "Sir, our weapons won't lock onto targets," reported a council gunner from one of the ships attacking Earth. "Navigation is down," called another officer. "We're drifting off course." "How are they doing this?" Thexmari roared. The answer came from an unexpected source. Admiral Taemin's voice suddenly filled every council ship as he hijacked their communication systems. "This is Admiral Taemin of the Terran Defense Fleet." His voice was calm and cold. "You are wondering how we are doing this. The answer is simple. We learned from you." On the main screen of Thexmari's ship, Taemin's face appeared. Behind him, the bridge of a massive human warship buzzed with activity. "For 20 years, we studied every piece of your technology that we could capture," Taemin continued. "We learned how your computers think, how your weapons work, how your ships fly. And then we built something better." As if to prove his point, the space around Earth suddenly filled with human ships. They appeared from behind asteroids, decloaked from stealth fields, and rose from hidden bases on the moon. Each one was larger and more heavily armed than the council had expected. "Impossible," breathed Thexmari. "Our intelligence showed they had no fleet left." "Your intelligence showed you what we wanted you to see," Taemin replied. "Did you really think a species that went from primitive farming to interstellar travel in 200 years would just give up?" The first real battle began when Captain Dong Hyun led a squadron of stealth frigates in an attack on the Council's supply ships. His vessel, the Busan Phantom, had been built using a combination of human engineering and captured Council technology. The result was a ship that was faster, more maneuverable, and better armed than anything the Council had. "Target their engines first," Dong Hyun ordered his gunners. "We want prisoners, not debris." The Council's supply ships tried to flee, but they were designed for hauling cargo, not fighting wars. Dong Hyun's frigates cut through them like sharks attacking whales. In 30 minutes, they had captured 15 ships and their crews without destroying a single vessel. "This is impossible," one of the captured council officers kept repeating as human soldiers led him to a holding cell. "Humans are primitives. You cannot have technology like this." "We don't," the human soldier replied with a grin. "We have better technology than this." Back in space, the main battle was turning into a rout. The council fleet was designed to fight primitive species with simple weapons. They had never faced an enemy that could hack their computers, jam their sensors, and outfly their ships all at the same time. Minister Ji-won coordinated the battle from a command bunker on Earth's moon. She watched as human ships systematically disabled council vessels using tactics the aliens had never seen before. "Group 7, use Formation Delta against those cruisers," she ordered. "Group 12, execute the fishing net maneuver on the battleships near Sector 4. The human formations moved like schools of fish, flowing around the rigid council battle lines and striking at weak points. Where the council expected direct attacks, the humans used deception and misdirection. Where the council tried to use their superior firepower, the humans used speed and superior technology. Dr. Hae-jin watched the battle from her laboratory and smiled with satisfaction. Her computer virus was working even better than she had hoped. Council ships were firing on each other by mistake, their sensors showing false targets. Some were even flying in circles because their navigation systems had been corrupted. "Ma'am," her assistant called out, "we're receiving surrender signals from 12 council ships. They're requesting permission to abandon their vessels." "Tell them they can surrender to the nearest human ship," Hae-jin replied. "But only if they agree to answer our questions about council technology." The tide of battle turned completely when Wu Jin activated the hidden weapon systems that humanity had been building throughout their space for years. What looked like ordinary asteroids suddenly revealed themselves to be armed space stations. Communication satellites that the Council had ignored turned out to be missile platforms. Even some of the space debris floating around Earth opened up to release swarms of combat drones. "We're surrounded," reported a Council tactical officer. "Human weapons are everywhere." War leader Thexmari stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Red dots representing human forces had appeared all around his fleet. Where his intelligence had told him there would be easy prey, he had found a trap that had been years in the making. "How did they hide all of this?" he demanded. The answer came from Captain So Young, who had taken control of the Council communication networks. "We hid it the same way we hid everything else. We made you see what you expected to see." Images appeared on every Council screen showing the truth behind humanity's deception. The mining operations that had looked so innocent were actually military bases. The simple farms were camouflaged weapons facilities. Even the primitive radio signals had been carrying encoded military communications. "You thought you were conquering a broken civilization," So Young continued. "But we were never broken. We were just getting ready." The final blow came when Admiral Tae-min led the main human fleet in a direct assault on the Council command ships. The Soul's Pride had been rebuilt with hybrid human Council technology, making it more powerful than any ship in the galaxy. "This is for New Jeju," Tae-min said as his guns targeted Thexmari's flagship. The Council ship tried to flee, but human vessels surrounded it on all sides. Its shields, which had seemed invincible just hours before, collapsed under the focused fire of weapons that had been specifically designed to penetrate them. "I surrender!" Thexmari broadcast frantically. "We surrender! Please don't destroy us!" "Surrender accepted," Tae-min replied coldly. "But understand this. The war is not over. This was just the first battle." News of humanity's victory at Earth spread across the galaxy faster than anyone had expected. Within days, every species under Council rule had heard the impossible story. The primitive humans had not only survived a Council invasion, they had destroyed it completely. Admiral Tae-min stood in the command center of the Soul's Pride, now serving as the flagship of humanity's liberation fleet. Around him, dozens of screens showed the chaos that was erupting throughout Council space. Rebellions were breaking out on worlds that had been quiet for centuries. "Report from the Valdris system," announced Captain So Young, who had been promoted to serve as Tae-min's intelligence chief. "They've just destroyed 3 Council outposts and freed 2 mining colonies. They're requesting military support." "What about the Nethrani?" asked Tae-min. "They've seized control of their home system and are attacking Council supply lines," So Young replied. "The fish people are better fighters than the Council expected." Tae-min smiled grimly. The plan was working even better than they had hoped. For months, human agents had been secretly contacting oppressed species throughout the galaxy, sharing intelligence and promising support. Now that humanity had proven the Council could be beaten, everyone wanted to fight. Minister Ji-won had been appointed as humanity's first Minister of Galactic Liberation. Her job was to coordinate the growing rebellion against Council rule. "We have confirmation from 6 more species," she reported. "The Karathi, the Zenthi, the Melody, the Rupani, the Vexari, and the Talani have all declared independence from the Council. They're asking for human technology and military advisors." "How many systems is that total?" asked Defense Secretary Daun. 47 star systems in open rebellion," Ji-won replied. "Another 73 showing signs of unrest. The Council is losing control of nearly a quarter of their territory." This was the second phase of humanity's plan. They had never intended to simply defend themselves against the Council. From the beginning, their goal had been to break the Council's power completely by inspiring others to fight for freedom. Dr. Hye-jin had been working around the clock to establish communication with the rebelling species. What she discovered amazed her. Each of these species has unique technologies that the Council has been suppressing. she explained to the command staff. The Valdris can manipulate crystal matrices in ways we never imagined. The Nethrani have mastered underwater engineering. The Karathi understand gravity manipulation better than anyone. You mean the Council has been sitting on centuries of innovation? Asked Wu Jin. Exactly, Haya Jin replied. They've been keeping everyone primitive to maintain their own power, but now that these species are free, they're sharing their knowledge with us. The first major test of the new alliance came when the Council sent a punishment fleet to the Valdris home system. The crystal-based aliens had been enslaved for 400 years, and the Council wanted to make an example of them. Captain Dong Hyun led a combined human Valdris fleet to intercept the Council ships. His own vessel, the Busan Phantom, had been upgraded with Valdris crystal technology that made its weapons twice as powerful as before. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves, Dong Hyun told his crew as they approached the enemy fleet. We're fighting for everyone who's been crushed under Council rule. The battle that followed showed the true potential of interspecies cooperation. Human ships provided speed and tactical coordination, while Valdris vessels used their crystal weapons to slice through Council shields like paper. The Council fleet was destroyed in less than 2 hours. This is impossible, broadcast the dying Council commander. How are primitive species working together like this? We learned it from humans, replied the Valdris fleet leader. They showed us that freedom is worth fighting for. Back on Earth, the human leadership was planning the next phase of their high campaign. The underground command center that had once hidden humanity's resistance was now the nerve center of a galactic liberation movement. Intelligence reports that the Council is pulling ships back from their outer territories, reported General Kyung-soo. They're concentrating their forces around their core systems. How many ships are we talking about? Asked Admiral Tae-min. Our best estimate is 2 million vessels, Kyung-soo replied. They're building the largest fleet in galactic history. The room fell silent. Even with all their allies, humanity could barely field 200,000 ships. The Council still had overwhelming numerical superiority. There's something else, So Young added quietly. Our spies report that the Council is preparing to use their ultimate weapon. Which is? Dawoon asked. Planet crackers, So Young replied. Weapons that can literally break entire worlds apart. They're planning to destroy Earth as an example to the other rebelling species. The news hit the room like a physical blow. Everyone knew that the Council was ruthless, but using planet-destroying weapons against civilian populations was beyond anything they had done before. When? Asked Tae-min. 3 months, So Young said. They need time to move their fleet into position and charge the planet crackers. Minister Ji-won stood up from her chair. Then we have 3 months to end this war. How? Asked Wu Jin. Even with our allies, we're outnumbered 10-1. The answer came from an unexpected source. Min-ho, the engineer who had designed humanity's hidden facilities, had been working on a special project since the war began. What if we don't fight their fleet directly? He said. What if we attack their ability to coordinate it? Min-ho walked to the main display and brought up a map of Council space. At the center was a single star system marked in bright red. This is the Kalani home system, he explained. The original Council species. They control the entire galactic communication network from there. Every Council ship, every base, every planetary government reports to the Central Command on Kalani. Prime. You want to attack their homeworld? Asked Da-un. I want to destroy their command structure, Min-ho replied. Cut off the head and the body dies. Dr. Haya-jin had been studying the Kalani for months. It might work, she said slowly. The Kalani have enhanced brains that process information very quickly, but they're completely dependent on their technology. If we could disrupt their neural networks. You mean drive them insane? Asked Tae-min. Not permanently, Hyejin said. But we could overload their enhanced brains with feedback signals. They would be unable to coordinate their fleet or give orders to their forces. The plan that emerged was the most ambitious military operation in galactic history. A combined fleet of humans and their new allies would fight their way to the galactic core while a special strike team attempted to infiltrate Kalani Prime and disable the Council's command network. "We'll need ships from every species we've liberated," said Admiral Taemin, "and we'll need volunteers for what's essentially a suicide mission." "I'll lead the strike team," volunteered Captain So Young. "So will I," added Captain Dong Hyun. "And me," said Dr. Hai Jin. "You'll need someone who understands Kalani technology." Within weeks, the largest fleet in galactic history began assembling in hidden staging areas throughout human space. Human dreadnoughts worked alongside Valdris crystal ships, Nethrani submarine fighters, Karathi gravity manipulators, and vessels from dozens of other species. Each ship had been upgraded with hybrid technology that combined the best features of multiple civilizations. The result was a fleet that was not just larger than anything humanity had built before. It was more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "The Council has ruled through fear for 10,000 years, Admiral Taemin told the assembled fleet commanders. "They've kept everyone afraid and divided. But fear has a weakness. It can be overcome by courage and unity." The final preparations took 2 months. Human engineers worked day and night to integrate alien technologies into their ships. Scientists from dozens of species shared their knowledge freely, creating weapons and defenses that had never existed before. Most importantly, the freed species began sharing their stories with each other. The Valdris told of 4 centuries of slavery in crystal mines. The Nethrani described how the Council had poisoned their oceans. The Karathi remembered when their children had been taken away to serve as Council soldiers. Each story added fuel to the fire of rebellion. By the time the Liberation Fleet was ready to launch, it represented not just military might, but the combined anger and determination of every species that had suffered under Council rule. "Final intelligence report," announced So Young at the last command meeting before the assault. "The Council fleet is moving into position around Earth. 2 million ships just like we predicted. They'll be here in 1 month." "Perfect," said Admiral Taemin. "While they're focused on destroying our homeworld, we'll be destroying theirs." The Liberation Fleet launched from hidden bases throughout the galaxy, converging on the galactic core from 12 different directions. It was the largest coordinated attack in history, involving over 300,000 ships from 40 different species. As the fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, heading toward the heart of Council power, Admiral Taemin sent a message. "To Earth, to everyone on our homeworld," he said. "In 1 month, the Council will arrive with everything they have. Hold the line. We're going to end this war before they get the chance to fire a single shot." The Council's final armada arrived at Earth exactly when human intelligence had predicted. Admiral Kyung-soo watched from his hidden position behind Jupiter as 2 million alien ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history, designed to make Earth an example that would terrify the galaxy back into submission. "They really brought everything," muttered his tactical officer as the sensors finished counting enemy vessels. Kyung-soo smiled coldly. "Good. That means there won't be any left when we're finished." The Council fleet spread out around Earth like a metal net, preparing to tighten slowly around the planet. Their commander, Council Prime Regent Vexithara herself, had come personally. "To oversee humanity's final destruction, begin the scan," she ordered from her massive flagship. "I want to see these humans begging for mercy before we destroy them." But when the Council sensors focused on Earth, they found something unexpected. The planet was almost empty. Where there should have been billions of desperate humans, there were only a few million people in scattered settlements. "Where is everyone?" demanded Vexithara. "Our intelligence said Earth had 12 billion inhabitants." "Unknown, Prime Regent," replied her aide. "We're detecting massive energy signatures from the planet's core, but no large population centers." What the Council didn't know was that Earth had been turned into the largest trap in human history. Over the past year, most of the population had been evacuated to hidden colonies throughout the galaxy. Those who remained were volunteers who had one final job to do. Captain So Young stood in a bunker deep beneath Earth's surface, her hand on a control panel that would change the course of galactic history. Around her, the last defenders of Earth waited for her signal. "All stations report ready," announced her communications officer. "Council fleet is in optimal position," added the tactical chief. So Young took a deep breath. "For New Jeju. For everyone, the Council has murdered. Execute Starfall Protocol." Earth's core had been modified over the past year by humanity's greatest engineers. What looked like a normal planetary core was actually a carefully controlled gravitational weapon. When So Young pressed the button, the modifications activated. The planet's core collapsed in a precisely calculated way, creating an artificial black hole that began devouring everything around it. But this was not a random catastrophe. It was a carefully designed weapon that pulled in everything within a specific range. The Council ships closest to Earth had no time to escape. The artificial black hole's gravity well caught them and pulled them in like insects caught in a spider's web. In the first 10 minutes, over 300,000 Council vessels simply vanished into the event horizon. "What is happening?" screamed Vexathara as her ship's engines strained against the gravitational pull. "How can primitives control black holes?" The answer came from Admiral Taemin, whose voice suddenly filled every Council ship as he hijacked their communications once again. "We learned from the best teachers in the galaxy." His voice was calm despite the chaos around Earth. "You." On the screens of every Council ship, Taemin's face appeared. But he was not broadcasting from Earth. He was aboard a massive human dreadnought, somewhere else entirely. "While you were focused on destroying our homeworld, we were busy destroying yours," Taemin continued. "Captain So Young, please show them what we've accomplished." The display changed to show the Kalani home system at the galactic core, where there should have been the magnificent capital world of the Council's founding species. There was now only empty space and debris. "Kalani Prime no longer exists," Taemin announced, "along with your entire command structure, your central computer networks, and your leadership council." The truth was even worse than Taemin's announcement suggested. Dr. He Jin had not only destroyed the Kalani homeworld, she had used her knowledge of their biology to create a quantum weapon that specifically targeted their enhanced brains. Kalani, within 50 light years of their homeworld when the weapon detonated, had suffered complete neural collapse. The species that had founded the Council 10,000 years ago was now extinct, but Earth's artificial black hole was only the beginning of humanity's final attack. "Activate the network," Wu Jin commanded from a hidden base in the outer galaxy. Throughout Council space, weapons that had been secretly positioned over the past 2 years suddenly activated. They looked like asteroids, space debris, or abandoned space stations, but they were actually gravitational bombs identical to the one that had consumed Earth. 57 of them detonated simultaneously, each one creating an artificial black hole that devoured everything in the surrounding star systems. Council strongholds, military bases, and industrial centers that had existed for millennia simply ceased to exist. "This is impossible!" Vexathara shrieked as reports flooded in from throughout her empire. "Humans cannot have this technology." "We didn't," replied Admiral Taemin. "We developed it. That's what humans do. We take whatever exists and make it better." The Council fleet around Earth was trapped between the expanding black hole below and the advancing Liberation fleet above. Admiral Kyung-soo led the human forces in the final assault, supported by ships from every species that had joined the rebellion. "Target their command ships first," he ordered. "Without leadership, the rest will surrender quickly." The battle was not really a battle. It was an execution. Council ships that had seemed invincible just months before were cut apart by weapons. that combined human engineering with the technology of 40 different species. Their shields, designed to stop primitive weapons, were useless against hybrid systems that operated on completely different principles. Minister Ji-Wan coordinated the liberation of Council territories from her command ship in the fleet. As each Council stronghold fell, she immediately dispatched aid ships to help the freed populations. "The Zenthi system has been liberated," she announced. "The Karathi Home Fleet reports all Council forces in their sector have surrendered. The Vexari are requesting support for war crimes tribunals." The end came faster than anyone had expected. Within 1 week of the attack on Earth, the Council's empire had collapsed completely. Their leadership was dead, their fleets were destroyed, and their remaining forces were surrendering as fast as they could find human ships to surrender to. Vexthara herself was captured when her flagship's engines failed and she drifted helplessly toward Earth's artificial black hole. Captain Donghyun's ship, the Busan Phantom, rescued her at the last possible moment. "Why did you save me?" she asked, as human soldiers led her to a holding cell. "Because we're not like you," Donghyun replied. "We don't murder helpless prisoners." In the aftermath of the Council's fall, humanity faced the challenge of rebuilding galactic civilization. The old empire had ruled through fear and suppression, keeping hundreds of species divided and weak. The new galactic government that emerged was very different. Based on the principles that had guided humanity's rebellion, it was founded on voluntary cooperation between free species. Admiral Taemin was elected as the first Supreme Commander of the Galactic Liberation Alliance. His first act was to establish the Galactic Freedom Charter, which guaranteed that no species would ever again be forced to submit to another's rule. "For 10,000 years, the galaxy was ruled by fear," he said at the charter's signing ceremony. "From now on, it will be governed by hope." Dr. Hai-Jin became the Alliance's first science coordinator, tasked with sharing the advanced technologies that each species had developed. The knowledge that the Council had suppressed for millennia was finally free to benefit everyone. Captain So-Young, who had sacrificed Earth to save the galaxy, was given the honor of choosing the location for New Earth. She selected a beautiful world in the former Council core where the new human homeworld would serve as a symbol of freedom for all species. "Earth was our first home," she said at the dedication ceremony. "But this galaxy is our real home now." The former Council species that survived the war were treated with surprising mercy. Rather than seeking revenge, the Alliance offered them the chance to join the new galactic community as equals. Most accepted gratefully. After 10,000 years of ruling through tyranny, they had forgotten what it felt like to be part of something larger than themselves. Minister Ji-Wan established the Galactic Reconstruction Authority to help former Council worlds transition to self-government. The process was not always smooth, but it was guided by one simple principle. Every species had the right to determine its own future. The Council tried to control everyone, she explained to a gathering of newly free worlds. "We're here to help. You control yourselves." 5 years after the war's end, Wu Jin published his final report on the conflict. The numbers were staggering. Over 2 million Council ships destroyed, dozens of star systems liberated, and nearly 100 species freed from slavery. But the most important number was 0, the number of species that had been forced to join the new alliance against their will. In his conclusion, Wu Jin wrote, "The Council's great mistake was believing that power came from the ability to destroy. Humanity's great discovery was that true power comes from the ability to create. The Ta said galaxy was free, and it would remain free as long as there were species willing to